and give a brief tactic here. It's something that works well with demons, but you could clearly use it with other armies, no problem. It works best with two Aegis Lines, because if they're 3 inches apart, they're legal by the rulebook, and you could put 2 weapons and 1 squad on both lines. But here's what you want to do, or at least consider doing. If you have a really high ballistic skill model like a Bloodletter, manning your gun or guns, if he's in the same squad as the guy on the back gun, so let's say there's a Bloodletter here, these are 3 inches apart, so there's another guy in between so that they have coherency. They can shoot these weapons, but they have to shoot the same target, or target unit at least, because they're all in one unit. Now, how this works with things coming in from reserves has not been clarified, but for everything outside of intercept, if it's in the normal combat shooting phase, they have to shoot the same target. So, trick to do is to take something like a Herald of Slaanesh that has a phenomenal ballistic skill, 6, and you want to say, okay, if I put her in base contact with the gun, she can shoot it. Now, she is unable to become a member of the Bloodletters, so she can't join their squad. No matter how close she is to them, she can't join their squad because of different demonic alignment. So she's just standing there, and she can potentially shoot this gun. Or if you stick her back here on the quad cannon, she can shoot the quad cannon. And when she's on a quad cannon, she's possibly more effective than she is on the las cannon for rending. But regardless, doesn't matter. You can put her on either gun. If, say, during the intercept, you're playing against Necrons and 2 Necron flyers come flying in, well, they're in different units, so these Bloodletters potentially can only shoot at one of them. That's unclear, but even if that's unclear, it doesn't matter. If she's standing next to the gun, she can fire this gun at a target, and this guy can fire the gun at a separate target. So quad cannon could shoot at Necron Flyer 1, Slaanesh could fire at Necron Flyer 2, allowing you to use the weapon emplacements at different targets. Also important to note, if she shoots something on the ground, she's dedicated to attacking it. She can't choose a different target. So these Bloodletters might not want to attack the same target that she goes after. And what's really useful here, why is this actually useful as opposed to just having one unit manning the guns? Because if anyone is shooting at your guys manning the guns, if they're picking a unit to shoot at, not using blast weapons, she's separate. She has to be a separate target, which means, yeah, she's easy to kill, one model, but she's not going to be shot, say, by bolter fire that's targeting a bunch of Bloodletters. So she does manage to keep this gun firing a little bit longer. Now, in terms of other demon rules, so having 2 units on the guns, great. If you have Slaanesh units, I'll pull the Bloodletters away. Let's say you had Slaanesh units manning guns. If they're manning a quad cannon, the current rules as they're written gives them rending, and it doesn't say only for close combat attacks, so that means that Slaanesh girls or heralds or keepers of secrets or whatever, when they shoot a quad cannon, the quad cannon picks up the rending universal special rule. So it would get AP2 when it rolls 6s to wound, and it would get additional D3 pen when it's rolling against vehicles, which is great against land raiders. Okay, other little thing to consider, if you're shooting these guns, the quad cannon is most likely to be useful for this. If you're shooting these guns with any of the characters, let's say you had a squad, either of Bloodletters or a squad of Demonettes, a Herald of Slaanesh or a Herald of Khorne, who have really good ballistic skills, remember, if there's a Herald in base contact with this gun, or just say, this is one of my Aluruses they're the sergeants for the demonettes, but if he's a blood reaver, the sergeant for the bloodletters, if they're the ones in base contact with the gun, anytime they roll a 6, it's a precision shot, so they can declare that hit on, say, your opponent's sergeant or some particular model in the unit that they're shooting at, as long as it's within range. And as I mentioned earlier, this tactic can be used just as easily if you had allies. So you could have Imperial Guard. Here's my demonic Imperial Guard. Well, you could have guard on one gun. I don't know why you'd put the guard on the las cannon. Make sure that there's one guard on base contact with the las cannon and one guard on base contact with the quad gun, and then one in between, and one unit of guards and the Herald of Slaanesh can fire these weapons. And if you had them as veterans, for example, they have a good ballistic skill, they could be firing both weapons, or you might want the Herald of Slaanesh to pick a different target. So this just the tactic is to put 2 units on the guns and make one of those units able to shoot different targets, or the entire group could fire at one, and then for example, she is able to shoot somewhere else. Or if it's a bunch of guardsmen with las guns, they have the ability to shoot a different target if the demons fired those weapons. Anyways, short tactic, 2 units on 2 guns, makes them more durable,